word. All I had on the paper was favor. And I was like, favor.
Like when we talk about praise and worship, like we're talking about, okay, you got two praise and worship leaders.
Yeah.
But even though they're the leaders, if you got a song burning in your spirit, that you
Deep
just
down
gotta,
in your
that you just
sanctified
gotta
soul.
get out.
Come on.
You don't need a microphone. You can just go ahead and just sing.
With that
Then you have, if we're kind of crossing a little bit, you have Sissy Houston. She said gospel. And then, of course, you have the infamous, phenomenal Whitney Houston. And then there's Dionne Warwick, who's also a family.
Immediately, it was almost as if God just gave me his gift. And I began to just hear things that I could hear on the radio or on my CD player at the time. We don't have CD player.
It's good ground.
That's it. Good ground. This is good ground. All right.
Yes.
I have my $50 line standing up right here. Come on, stand up. What's up, everybody? My name is Calvin Wilson, host of Church Music Talks podcast, and we are back for another episode. And I have my co-host with me, Mrs. Kenderlyn Turner.
Hey.
What's up? What's up?
Hey, glad to be back, man.
Yes, love the hat and the glasses and the whole fit.
Thank you.
You know, out here killing it.
Different.
Yes, welcome back to another episode. This episode, I think, is going to be good. We are talking about gospel family singing groups. Yes, and talking about which ones are our favorites, what we like about each one. I know a little bit about us is that a lot of our family members are into singing and music. So, we just kind of want to talk about this particular topic and see what we find out. 'Cause I already know that you're biased on who your favorite is.
Yeah, I see it in your eyes. You're trying to spark up a little something.
Yeah. So let's do this. Let's just go ahead and go through the list of who we think like the top, singing groups that we think of. So I know for me, the Clark sisters, the Winans, like those are top two, right? Then you have the Pace sisters. You got Mary. You got Jonathan and Jason Nelson. I'm sure there's some others that I'm probably forgetting.
The Brown sisters.
Okay. Yeah.
You have, they're not a group, but they sing. You have Lisa Page Brooks. Then you have her daughter, Tasha Page Lockhart.
Yes. Okay.
You have even Donnie McClurkin and his sisters.
They do sing background for him.
Yes.
Okay.
And one of his sisters, Andrea, is that her name?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you.
One of them actually branched out and did a solo project.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Good for her.
Then you have if we're kind of crossing a little bit, you have Sissy Houston. She sang gospel. And then of course you have the infamous, phenomenal Whitney Houston. And then there's Dionne Warwick, who's also a family member. Then you have the Braxtons.
Yes.
Yeah, Tony Braxton, Tamar, Tawanda.
All right. You know your groups.
I mean, a little bit.
You know your groups. Because I'm like, okay, I ain't think of these people.
We didn't mention the Walls group.
Yes, very much so.
They are the McCains. So they're very much sibling family groups. Yeah.
And so I've always been intrigued with those type of groups, just because it's a different dynamic, because it's not just people that you've gathered together, like it's your actual fam, singing with you. And so I always admired that about families, because again, they can kind of just bring like a whole different element to singing, because again, like you're not just friends, like you're actually family,
right,
coming together and singing. I know your dad and your brother sing, and I'm sure you guys have sang together plenty of times before. So how is that experience compared to like when you sing with God's Favor?
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So you got that group, and then singing with your dad and your brother, like, is there a difference between the two? Like, how's that dynamic?
There's a difference. So at certain times, and my brother and I will talk about it, but like at certain times, he will sound exactly like my father.
Mm-hmm.
Certain things that he does. We've noticed like there are certain, say, runs or certain movements that we'll do vocally, and I'll notice like if I do, I'm like, oh, I sound like daddy.
Right,
you know,
right.
I get it from my father. So I say that in a way like there's more of a similarity, and you know each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're more familiar with each other. So like when me, Kenny, and my dad, when we would sing, we used to do for Family and Friends Day every year. Like we would rehearse, but it wasn't an in-depth rehearsal because
y'all knew what y'all were going to do.
Right. And we also know each other.
Mm-hmm.
So the blending,
right.
We didn't have to work on that as much because our voices blend. And I noticed that about family groups. The blend is usually spot on.
Yeah, and it's actually interesting that you said, you know, you hear your brother sing and then you're like, yeah, he sounds just like, you know, your dad. And now I'm thinking about, I'm like, when I hear my sister sing, and I'm like, there's times where she sounds like just like my mom.
Yeah.
And like people have always, you know, they've said it too, but now that we've kind of just, you know, brought it out that way, I'm like, oh snap. My sister does sound like my mom. And then like I even think of like, you know, some of my other family members, like my cousin Mariah, like when she sings, she sounds just like my aunt Juicy, my aunt Jerusha, you know, and like my aunt Jerusha, she has her own tone, her own style. And then I hear Mariah, I'm like, okay, yeah, like they sound just alike. So that's actually pretty interesting. Like when you kind of stop and like think about it.
And now that you're talking about it, so you guys only know really like the Cartwrights as far as like me, my brother, my dad, Uncle Steve.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, he's not a Cartwright, but his wife, Mother Thomasina.
Right.
So she had a sister named Maddie. Okay. My Aunt Maddie, and I remember very vaguely, like when I was little, but you talk about a singer.
Okay.
She would sing, and the anointing and the Spirit of God would just come in. But now when I started to sing, like my uncles would say, you remind me so much of Maddie. Wow. And to me, that's an honor, you know, but I wasn't around her when she was singing like that. Like, you know, like I was around my father. And, but yet, here we go. You know.
Just kind of just going down the line. Yeah. Wow. And like now I'm just like thinking of some of the other groups like we mentioned, like so like the Clark sisters, how Kiki sounds like her mom. Yes. You know. Yeah. Even like before we came on, we listened to Debbie Winans and like how she sounded just like
her and Cece sounds so much
alike. And so that's actually really interesting. Like I'm kind of like still trying to wrap my mind around. I'm like, wow, like
I mean, it's
family members really do like when they sing it, especially if that's something that they're good and you know that's what they do. How much they sound like whoever it is that they're related to. That's
they have the same. There's a certain due to genetics. There's a certain their tone. Their tone, their blending, their match is very much alike. And even so, we're talking about like, you know, females and females, but Donnie McClurkin and his sister. Especially, you know, Donnie sings a lot of songs in the higher register. So when he would hit those notes, I've heard him and his sister. They sound a lot alike.
But honestly, when you listen to Donnie's albums, like you hear his sister like in the background. I'm like, yeah, that's his sister. I don't know which one it is.
Yeah.
But you could tell that they sound just alike. But then even like when you hear the background, it sounds very similar to Donnie, who's lead. And it's like, okay, Donnie, are you just going back and singing the parts yourself? But it's not. That's his fam that's doing it.
Is that something?
That's crazy. Like I said, I'm still trying to rack my mind around that because like that's a really like dope concept. How that's able to work. But we do have to settle this though. We have to settle this. And when y'all are watching this, please let us know, comments, DMs, email, because we gotta settle this debate. So I'm of the opinion, right? Because like I know my mom, she tried to say it this way, like they on the even playing field, and you know they both on the same, but there can only be one top family singing group in gospel.
I don't think there can only be one, but go ahead.
I think there can only be one. And as much as I love the Winans, Marvin, BB, CC, there's nothing like the Clark sisters. The Clark sisters to me are the top family gospel singing group of all time.
Okay.
Nobody will beat them. Nobody will take their spot. Because the thing is, like, they still out here doing it and like not missing the beat. And so the Winans, I feel like, yeah, they had, you know, their groups back when they were younger, split off, did their own thing. But I feel like I'm sure they still sing together, but you really don't see too much of the Winans singing together as a family.
That's because they don't have to sing together in order to make an impact. Like, I'm sorry.
I got you.
One of the greatest. You can say what you will, but
let's
some Marvin L. Winans. I understand what you're saying. Like they're not still singing together. No, they're not. However, get them together, because I just saw a video where they were sitting around the dinner table and they sang. It was like a hymn or something, and could do an album right then and there.
Yes, but I'll say this: the Clarks have probably the biggest advantage. They had the doctor.
Yeah.
Mrs. Maddie Moss Clark, which just like set the tone for really everybody, if you want to think about it. So you got her on the Clark's team.
Mom and Pop Winans, but go ahead.
It's Dr. Maddie Moss Clark.
Oh gosh, he's trying to make this a thing, y'all. And I don't disagree that the Clark sisters they're legends. I will never take that away from them. And I agree with what your mom said, that they are on equal level. I just have Pastor Marvin Winans is
that's
my
your
all-time favorite singer ever. So anytime that there's anything involving him, I'm going to always choose.
Yeah, I got you. But I think when like you see the Clark sisters come up to sing, like, yes, you hear them as a group, but then you still get to hear them individually.
Individuality, yeah.
Yeah. Because like, of course, everybody, knows, well, they know all of them, but like when it comes to singing, they know Karen's going to do all the runs, Dorinda's going to be scatting and, bebop and all that stuff. But honestly, Jackie be holding it down.
She does. And I love how she holds the bottom. But I really, and Twinkie is just, I'm glad now that she's getting the recognition that she really, really deserves.
Yeah.
Because you talk about a writing musical genius, she is one. And I think that's been overlooked a lot, and it's just now, it's still her due season. This is it, right now.
Yeah.
However, I just have to point that out, that she's amazing. So all of them hold their weight. Absolutely. And I have to also say, and I think we've talked about this on the show before, but Karen Clark, for her to sustain her range.
Yes.
I don't know how. I don't know. I don't know how she does it, but she does. And I mean,
and it still comes.
She hasn't lost a thing, right?
It still comes effortlessly for her.
And it's almost like the older she gets, the better she gets. But then we can't forget that they've produced a family, and they have singers out of that family.
Yeah.
Of course, Kiera Kelly now.
Right. Yeah. Mrs. Kelly.
And Jay Drew. And then Maddie Moss. So you already talked about her, but you got Jay Moss, and then you have so their whole entire family.
Yeah.
Music runs real heavy, and it's rich. It is rich. On the flip side, the Winans are heavy too.
I was about to say you was doing real good, and I thought you was going to go ahead and just come over to my side, because you set it up perfectly. Like, it sounded great.
Well, let's just determine that there is no side. So the Winans too is the same thing.
She's trying to be modest, y'all.
It's the same thing. I feel like Mom and Pop Winans really gave a heavy foundation, and music just flows from them. So yes, there's the group that will never be duplicated, which is the Winans. Okay. And then out of there's also BB and CC Winans. Then you also had remember Angie and Debbie Winans, they had a group. And then
might be showing my age a little bit there.
Yeah. And then, there's also Marvin Winans Jr.
Okay. He's got a project though?
He did music back in the day for a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm really showing my age.
Producing and things like that. But
yeah.
Then you have Mario.
Yep.
And then you have the Juan.
Yeah.
Who just recently did.
Tim Bowman is related to them too, right?
So
or how's that relation?
Vicky Winans. Which
right.
Okay. That's her, like her godson.
Okay. Got it. I thought he was actually like somebody's
Vicky
niece
Winans
or not.
introduced him into
got
the,
it.
that
right. He do all that scatting and bebopping. Yeah. But he be singing though. I did get that to him.
Really does. And now he has he's big on his own right. Yeah. But the Winans have a rich musical history as well. But we also mentioned like Mary and they're doing their thing. Now you see that Erica Campbell's daughter
starting to branch
singing. Out. And I find that, and we already talked about like the Walls group. So the Walls group, there's some amazing
they
singers.
some singing people.
I'm not a fan of the I'm not a fan of their music, but what I am a fan of is they can sing. They can flat out sing. That's something that cannot be denied.
You can't take
and what
that
I
away
love
from
about them is it's authentic sing. Like it's not a bunch of tracks and auto-tune.
Flat-footed
it's not
singing.
The fake stuff. They can really sing. So I will never take that from them.
So with groups like them that are out now, do you think that we'll ever see, like, we know that there will never be another Clark sisters, there'll never be another Winans family.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think that there'll be another family group that'll just kind of come up and be our generation's?
Yeah, like
You
that's
know,
really hard to say
yeah, I
because
would say the Walls group is probably close to that right now. You looking at me funny, but that's all right. I would say they're probably that right now for our generation and younger. Um, I'm not sure if they have the same impact as the Winans and Clark sisters had back then when they were
you don't gotta
starting
keep
out.
saying back then because
But I'm saying like back then, like when they were first coming, like they were it. Like the Clark sisters and
and
the
you just talked
Winans.
about how the Clark sisters are still
Yeah, like still they are. But I'm saying like for right now, like for our generation,
for y'all.
yeah.
Because they
Like I don't know if we'll get,
and that's the thing that
if we'll get
disappoints
that.
me.
Yeah.
As someone who I love music, and groups is something that I really, really love. And that is something that I feel like is lacking in the gospel music, along with some other things. But
another episode.
Yeah. Stay tuned. So I think that I can't answer that for sure. But as of right now, no. No,
Yeah.
there's nobody that and I don't know what it is. I don't know what's lacking, and I don't know, there's a lot lacking, but I don't know like
Put your finger on it
what
type
it is.
of, yeah.
But I feel like that's something that is missing today. And here's the thing. So even with like groups that do come out, they don't stay together long.
Yeah.
That's another thing. It's almost like they don't stay together long enough for us
the listener,
to grab, to really catch on and appreciate what they're putting out there. It's like they start out and then next thing you know, people doing their own thing. And I think that has a lot to do with it's a lot.
Right.
Everybody wants to do something, everybody wants to be something, but I think that's the whole thing. Going back to the substance and the quality of the Clark sisters and the Winans, if you look at even some of the going before them, like there were a lot of quartet groups that started out too.
Yeah.
And they would hang in there. Because that was the intent.
Right. Yeah.
The intent was not, all right, we can do this, we can sing together, but once we get out there, I'm on my own. That didn't seem like that was the intent. Their intent was really, we doing this, we're singing for God, and and then when they became big, guess what? Like even with the Clark sisters, that's the one thing I really appreciate about them. They still were able to hang on their own. But when it came down to it, they were still together. They stayed together.
Because they put out a lot of albums between them, like individually.
Yeah, I was just listening to Karen's Second Chance.
Yeah.
That was a long time. That was a while
like
ago.
Twinkie put out a lot of albums.
Karen put out several. Matter of fact, one of the best I feel like is her Finally Karen album.
Okay.
But,
yeah.
I digress. Dorinda put out a lot of Jackie
put out some stuff,
projects, but they still hung together, and now you can see that the fruit of their labor, like they're really reaping a lot of their rewards, a lot of they're getting a lot of their flowers now, but they've been doing this thing for a long time, and they stuck together. The Winans, same thing, I feel like. And what Ron Winans, we can't forget him. Ron Winans.
I was waiting for you to bring him up.
Oh yes, we cannot forget him because he even did a couple of things. Ron Winans and Friends, and then also Marvin Winans did some projects, Perfecting Church, and Of course, you know, like BB and CC.
BB and
BB and
CC.
CC were never a part of the actual Winans group, but
Right.
they were the biggies. But they all had their opportunities and they could all hold their own weight. But when it came together, they knew that the core of it all was sticking together. And today, I don't see it. I really don't.
Yeah. Wow.
Everybody wants to be, and there's nothing wrong with that. Being an individual, doing your own thing, there is nothing wrong with that. But before you get started, like before you get going good, you know, remind me of like the Flintstones. Yeah. Before they can get going in their car, patting their feet,
exactly.
like you already out.
You out the door.
So I don't know if anybody will ever come forth.
Because we have groups out that are family groups, but I'm looking at it like the impact that the Clark sisters and the Winans, that even the Pace sisters.
Yes.
Yeah, like I feel like they're probably one of the more underrated.
I agree.
Family groups.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you were just saying, like being able to stand alone and be able to kill and smash by yourself, like they were able to do it. And then of course you get them together, back to like what we were talking about earlier, how they all sound, the same, but they still are unique in their own way. Like it's but
and one way that you tell is you get them to all sing in unison.
And
they sound like one voice.
Yep.
One voice.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know if we'll get another group of family gospel singers that'll have that type of impact. But the good news is that there's still groups that are out there, even independent artists. Like I know this is a prelude to our upcoming episode. We do have one family group that will be coming on. I'm not going to name them. You guys got to come back and tune in to watch that. But yeah, that's another group. Like it's. I really want to dig in deep with them and see what the dynamic is, since they're actually doing it. Seeing how it is. Like, because I know for me, like, okay, if I do a group with my brother and my sister, right, I'm gonna feel some type of way, just like if my brother's the leader of the group.
Here you go.
Because I know how he is, and so then when it comes to like, oh, we trying to do this group, I was like, I know. So I'm just saying, like, does that happen in groups? Like, I would assume it would.
I don't know that, because.
And then especially like if the person leading the group is like younger. So like, okay, like I said, my brother, he's the head of our group. I'm the oldest brother, but then he's the one in charge of the group. And it's like, bruh.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that's the difference, because with family, nobody knows you better than your family.
Right.
And so you also know, I'm sure out of everyone, everybody would actually know, okay, well, you usually the one that leads. You're the one that sings the bottom, or you're the one that carries the top, or I get what you're saying. Like while you were talking, it reminds me of, remember Jackson 5?
Right.
But they knew it was a goal with Michael being the leader.
Tito said, "I'm the leader,"
and we all saw how that played out. So, but you can't help. It's sometimes it's just because you're all together. You spend so much time together. What works and what doesn't work, whether you want to admit it or not. And I think a lot of times that is the reason why family groups, either it makes them or breaks them. Because you spend so much time together, each other in and out. You really know. Yeah, you do. You know the ins and outs, and for the most part, like, you've slept with them, you've ate with them, you've played with them, you've sung with them, you've worked with them.
you've done life with them. You've done everything.
Yeah. And it can get, I'm sure some of these musical groups that have actually spent a lot of time together. Well, like once even you as a musician, you play with somebody long enough, you already know.
Yeah.
What move you're going to make, where a buildup is going to happen, or where you're going to put this break in.
Right.
It gets to that point where you're that familiar with each other. It's the same way with singers. If you, especially whether you're family or not, when you sing with somebody long enough, you know them to the point where you already can tell where they're going to go. And it's not hard to follow. It's not hard to fall in. It's not hard to blend. It's not hard to, if they about to build it, we going together. When they're about to bring it in, or even if they need help.
Yeah. Pick them up.
Yeah. Sometimes it gets to that point where you can tell when they can't keep carrying it. So somebody else will take the song, pick it up and take it. And that doesn't have to be a verbal cue, but you can just
already know and just pick up on it.
So it's the same way. And I think that's the reason why a good family group, it works. It works.
Yeah. Well, we got a good family group coming on the next episode.
I can't wait.
And again, like I said, that's going to be a really, really good episode. So make sure y'all come back, tune in. Like I said earlier, put in the comments, DM us, email us who you think the top singing gospel family group is. She tried to keep it even kill as best she can, but I know y'all have y'all bias. Y'all have y'all favorites. So let me know if y'all agree with me or not.
I ain't gonna. I'm gonna still hold my ground.
But yes, like I said, you could definitely catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube page. Follow us on Instagram at Church Music Talk, and then follow our Facebook page at Church Music Talks as well. This has been a great season so far.
Yeah,
it's been really good. And so I need y'all to keep hanging in there with us, because again, we got some more guests that y'all are really going to enjoy. So we really getting started here. So I'm your host, Calvin Wilson. This is my co-host, Mrs. Kenderlyn Turner, and we are out of here. See ya.